Hi, my name is Greg Brightbill, and I use he, his, him, or they, them, their pronouns. Today, I'm going to talk to you about time management. Now, most likely, if you are watching this, you yourself may be struggling with time management, procrastination, and just getting things done. Now, because time is of the essence, I want this to be a short presentation, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to overcome your time management issues and also how you can keep yourself motivated to accomplishing those goals. So again, my name is Greg Brightbill. I work at the University of Maryland, Baltimore in the Division of Student Affairs as an associate director, and I'm excited to share with you ways that you can be more effective with your time. So to start off, let's talk about time. Now, Parkinson's law states that when we are looking at getting things done and the time that you have to get something done, ultimately work will expand to fill the allotted time. So what that means is the more time you have to do something, the more work it will take. And so if you look at this, you have effort versus a lot of time. And the more time you have on it to do something, if the time you have to do that project is more than the effort that it would take, you're going to actually have a lot of wasted time. And by shortening the allotted time, you actually can condense the work down so that you get what they call optimal time to complete the work. Okay, so let's break this down in a way that I think is easy to understand. So, Parkinson's law. Let's say I need to clean my house. I just need to clean my house. Now, if I have a week to clean my house, let's say from a week from now. Okay, well, how much work is that going to take? Okay, well, I guess, I'll probably be sitting around a little bit thinking about, oh, I really need to clean this house. I may go over and pick up something. I may go and do maybe one or two tasks, but really ultimately, I'm going to probably wait a little bit until, well, I need to get it done in the next week. And I'm going to expend not only more energy, but more thought, more time. And ultimately, it's going to take me more time and it's going to be more exhausting to get this done because I've waited. It's not going to take me a week to clean my house. Ultimately, it's going to probably take me 2, maybe 3 hours. But by stretching it out, I'm expending more energy on this task. Now let's change that. Let's say I know this is going to take me 3 hours to clean my house. I need it done by tomorrow morning because I may have guests coming in. So tonight at 6 o'clock, I'm going to spend 3 hours and clean my house. Now, because I've shortened the timeline to get this task done, and I've condensed it, Parkinson's law says I'm going to be so much more efficient because the task ultimately takes 3 hours. And by condensing the time that I'm going to dedicate to completing this 3-hour task, I'm going to be more efficient, get it done, and it's going to be a lot easier on me mentally, physically, heck, even emotionally. So when we're thinking about how we get things done and time management, the longer we give ourselves, the less likely we will be efficient in completing the task. Now, how can you overcome Parkinson's law? Now, I'm a native of Maryland and I love Maryland. And one thing, if you love Maryland, you love Maryland Chesapeake Bay blue crabs. And so what I've done is I've gotten an acronym for you, C.R.A.Bs, or CRAB to be specific, just one. Now, the C.R.A.B method states to overcome the Parkinson's law, you need 4 things: chunk, rank, assess, and block. So if you can remember this, C.R.A.B, chunk, rank, assess, and block. And let me show you how you're going to use this. So let's say, here's a scenario. You have a big exam in 2 weeks. Let's say it's Monday, and you have an exam in 2 weeks from now. what are you going to do? How are you going to prepare? So let's start off using our C.R.A.B method. Chunking, the C. Now, chunking is breaking a large project into its smaller components. And so I'm going to sit down and say, okay, I have this big exam. How can I break this big exam and preparing for this exam into smaller bite-sized components? And so I just sit out with a piece of paper and say, okay, well, I always like to use flashcards. I'm going to study for the test with flashcards. I also really like studying with other people. So study with study group. Well, I need to reread the chapters. So I'm going to reread my textbook chapters. Well, I also need to find the study group, because how am I going to study with my study group unless I have a group of people? I also need to figure out what are the key points that I need to identify, the key things that I need to know. Well, also, I've got a lot of notes, so I need to review all of those notes. Oh, well, I earlier mentioned that I have to use flashcards to study. So probably I need to spend time creating these flashcards because they're not going to come out of thin air. And then, oh, you know what? I also should review all of my lecture recordings. Okay, well, so what I'm doing right here is I'm breaking that big, scary monster into smaller, easier to digest components so that I'm not scared of this monster without realizing, well, it's easier to accomplish. If I break that monster down into bite-sized bits, it's probably a lot less scary. So chunking, breaking a large project into smaller components. Now, after you've done the chunking, most likely you next need to do some ranking. Now, this is ordering tasks by due date and level of importance. Now, you may have many tasks for different assignments, and so you're probably going to start ordering them based on, well, I have this one due on this date and then this one due on this date. You're also probably trying to figure out, well, what's the most important thing that I need to do first? I also, for example, if I'm talking about studying with flashcards, well, probably the order I should have is creating the flashcards before studying with the flashcards. So based on the chunks that we identified in the previous slide, I start to rank them. And so the first thing that I need to do right now is I need to find a study group because I don't know when they're going to start meeting, and I need to make sure that I find them now so that I don't fall behind. Because if I wait until 2 days before the test, well, the study group's already been active. So based on importance and based on the timeline that I'm on, I need to find a study group. Well, next, I need to reread my textbook chapters because I that way I know what I'm going to be tested on. And then while I'm rereading my textbook chapters, probably the next thing that I should be doing is reviewing my lecture recordings. And then after I've reread my chapters and reviewed my lecture recordings, I need to sit down and look at what notes have I compiled from those two, and I need to review those notes. Now, next, I need to find this study group and start meeting with them. And then probably through all this, I'm identifying those key points, the key things that I need to know, the key things that I need to learn, areas that I'm struggling with. And then I create my flashcards. So I'm sitting down one evening saying, okay, well, here's what I've learned. Here's what I've figured out. Let's create these flashcards. And then I'm using my flashcards. So this is the rank. Now, because I've ranked it, now I need to start thinking about, okay, well, how much time? So the next part of C.R.A.B is assess. A. And this is where you estimate the time each task will take. Okay, well, I think I'm going to probably dedicate about an hour to finding a study group, and that's a little generous, but hey, why not? And that's me reaching out to classmates, maybe looking, emailing people, calling my classmates, texting people. So about an hour. I need to spend an hour early on to find this study group. Well, it's not too much reading, so I'm going to probably reread my textbook chapters. And so I'm dedicating about 2 hours to reading those textbook chapters. Let's just say you're a quick reader. And then I need to review my lecture recordings. Well, my lectures take about, it's a 3-hour lecture. And so I need to review that lecture, about 3 hours. Next, I'm going to review my notes. So based on what I've read and what I've listened to during the lectures, I need to review these notes. Well, I'm going to spend about 5 hours doing that because I really want to know my notes. Next, I'm going to study with my study group. Well, you know what? I heard back and they are meeting. And so it's going to be about 8 hours that they're going to meet over the next 2 weeks. So this is good to know. And then identifying key points, probably this will be me sitting down, just reflecting, about 2 hours probably. And then creating my flashcards. Well, I'm pretty good about it. So I'm going to probably take about 2 hours to create those flashcards. And then studying for my test with these flashcards. This is going to take me a lot of my time to study for. And so I'm going to spend about 8 hours studying with those flashcards. So now that I've assessed, part of my C.R.A.B method, I have assessed how much time it's going to take me to do each of these tasks and how much time I should dedicate. So now think back to the Parkinson's law. So now I'm squishing Parkinson's, my little graph, to say, okay, well, how much time do I need for this? So that I'm not wasteful with my time and that I don't stretch it too far and be inefficient. So I started to figure out where I can squeeze all of this stuff in. Now, the next portion is blocking. So let's say I've looked at my schedule and I know all my classes and I'm trying to figure out where am I going to fit in all these exam prep times. So here's my schedule. Gray, you see it gray blocked out. That's personal time, either eating, brushing my teeth, sleeping, doing things that I need for me. The green is class time. That's classes. I got to go to those. And then the salmon color is time that I'm dedicating based on what I've allocated in my assessing, my evaluating the time. That's the time, hour by hour, that I'm putting on my schedule. And part of blocking is breaking it up so that you're not spending all of that time at once doing one specific task. And so automatically, if you look at this, on Monday morning at 9 a.m. is when I'm going to be texting people. And then later on, I'm going to be reading my textbook. And then the next day, I'm reviewing lectures, reviewing notes, and then identifying key points. And then, oh, look, the study group texted back. They're meeting at Friday and Saturday, and then Thursday. And then a few other times, I believe. And so I'm automatically starting to place these times in my schedule. Now, an important component of blocking is spreading out a little bit of this. So we talked about chunking earlier. Now, just like how you can chunk the big tasks, you should also chunk the tasks into smaller components. So for example, I hopefully will not be chunking, or I hopefully will not be spending, let's say, 8 hours straight studying with my flashcards. Why? Because that's very mentally exhausting. Instead, I need to do it in smaller chunks. So kind of micro chunking. And I'm spreading that throughout my week. So this is how you're going to be doing it. Now, also throughout your week, most likely there's other things on your schedule. And let's say you have another test coming up for another class. I'd probably be putting that also on the schedule. And you know what? You also have things that you want to do, friends, TV shows, things that you enjoy. Also put those on the schedule. The great thing about blocking is that you're able to organize your schedule to meet your needs so that it's achievable for you. So that's the C.R.A.B method. Chunk, rank, assess, and block. So the first part is taking a project, chunking it out, making it into bite-sized pieces, then ranking those components, assessing the time that it's going to take to complete each of those tasks, those chunks, and then blocking those tasks on your schedule in a way that fits your schedule and spreads it out between when you need to start and when the due date is. Now, the final, and this is the most important part of time management. This is the part where I meet with students regularly for academic coaching, and it falls down to the most important part of time management is you. It is you. You are going to be in ultimate control of your time management. So what does that mean? I can teach you as many things about time management as I can. There's even more YouTube videos out there than I can count to about time management. There's books on time management. There are podcasts on time management. You can take even classes on time management. You can do all of those things, but in the end, the biggest, most important component of successful time management is you. Can you hold yourself accountable to the time management practices that you're using? Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have some tips for how you can hold yourself accountable. First, create a schedule that is achievable for you. Don't create a schedule that you don't think you'll be able to fulfill. If you can create even a simplified schedule that you know you can do, then that is it. That is accomplishments. That is awesome. But if you create a schedule where you're marking out every 15 minutes of your time and you're working from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. or 12 a.m., so almost the entire day, you're giving yourself 6 hours to sleep, I guess. And then you forgot, oh, well, I didn't forget, I don't have time to eat. And well, then it's not going to be achievable. If I'm only giving, let's say, for example, myself 2 days to study for a midterm exam, is your schedule really going to be that achievable? So make sure that your schedule is achievable for you. Next, create and incorporate a reward system to achieving your goals. Now, this is a sneaky trick. So when I say building a reward system, it means when you have a task that you really don't want to do, because let's be honest, there's tasks in studying that we really don't enjoy. There's tasks of work and life that we really don't want to do, like paying your taxes, doing your taxes. I really don't like doing my taxes. I know I got to do it. You build a reward system to follow that. Now, with doing my taxes, the reward is getting my tax refund. One of the ways that I incorporate reward system, so let's say, for example, I like to run, and I train for half marathons and marathons. I haven't ran a full marathon yet, but I'm working on it. But to be honest, especially in the winter months, I don't like to run because it's cold, and most likely I'm running on a treadmill. So what I do is I incorporate a reward system attached to that thing that I don't want to do. So after I run, then I'll watch a TV show that I like. And I only watch that show after I've done this other thing that I didn't want to do. So by placing this desirable reward after an undesirable task, I'm motivating myself to completing that task in a timely manner. The next thing is holding yourself accountable to following through with tasks. So if you're going to have this reward system, well, don't watch your show before you do the assignment. It's like, if you ate your dessert before you ate your vegetables, are you really going to have an appetite to eat the things that you really need to eat, the healthier part of your meal? So hold yourself accountable to following through. The next thing is find an accountability buddy. An accountability buddy, it's a fun word that I don't know if I made it up or somebody else made it up and I heard it. This is your accountability buddy. And so this is a person that will hold you accountable and you can hold them accountable. So you may touch base with them and say, hey, how are you doing in your studying? Did you spend this time studying? That's the great thing about study groups is most likely if you're struggling with time management, Study groups are great accountability buddies. It's like having a friend to go with you to the gym. By having that other person go with you, you hold each other accountable for going. And so find an accountability buddy. Next, keep your schedule nearby. If you're going to have it on your phone, if you're going to have it in a planner, keep it close by though, because that way you can use it as a constant reminder of, okay, this is what I need to do next. If you're like me, I like checking off things. And so if I have my schedule nearby, I like seeing it checked off. And then the final tip is to set up reminders and timers. And so if you like using, let's say, Outlook or your Google schedule, set up reminders to remind yourself when things need to be done. And so this doesn't mean setting a reminder for the final due date, like day of exam. No, this means, hey, in 15 minutes, you should probably start preparing to make your note cards. And then set a timer. So after that hour that you blocked out, you stop. I'm done. I've got another hour scheduled for tomorrow that I will finish these note cards, and I'm done. And that's important not only for completing the task, but that actually is really helpful for your mental health. You're not going to burn yourself out. So these reminders are great. And then timers to tell you when to stop are also great. So that's your short lesson on time management, because time is always of the essence, and I want to make sure that I'm conscious of your time. If you have any questions, again, my name is Greg Brightville. Feel free to email me at gbrightbill@umaryland.edu. I'm always happy to answer your questions. And I hope that what I've shared and what you've learned will help you be a little bit more conscious of your time management and be a more efficient person in completing the tasks that you need to do so that you are successful. I wish you the best success, and I hope you get everything done when you need it.